Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to HemingwayLand.com, your source for quality, affordable land in the state of New Mexico. Every so often, a property comes across the radar that I think is just too good to be true. It's one of these properties where I'm always amazed that someone is willing to part with it for the amounts of money that we offer. Obviously, we're investors, so we're not the people you talk to for highest and best offer. And typically, the people who do business with us aren't as concerned about money. But that said, even when they have a really good piece of land, they know not to, sell it for a song, essentially. This, however, is one of those properties that when it showed up, we just knew immediately we had to buy this. It's that good. So I am genuinely very pleased to be talking about this one today. Let's get to the details. This is reference number CBNM-7187, located in Cibola County in western New Mexico. This is a 20-acre lot. It's a massive piece of property in the Indian Knolls Ranch subdivision. And as you saw up top here, these 20 acres are priced at $27,000. And I will add an affordable $27,000. With that said, let me pull it up on the map, show you guys exactly where this one is. As with all the listings, down here there's GPS coordinates. Click any one of them, and on Google Maps, the lot shall appear. So first off, let me just pull back, talk about where this is within Cibola County, within New Mexico, for those of you who are not familiar with the region. So anybody who knows anything about New Mexico knows that Albuquerque is up here in the north central part of the state. Cibola County, of course, sits to its west, out here along I-40, bordering Arizona to the west. And generally speaking, when we buy properties out here, we're usually buying Pine Meadows Ranch, Tierra Verde, a little up closer to Rama. This property is down here by Tecado and by Fence Lake would be the nearest towns. Whatever the case, it is roughly, if we right-click and measure distance out to Albuquerque, roughly 100 plus miles. Fortunately, much of that is along the I-40 where you're doing like 75, 80 miles an hour. So it's not too bad. I mean, an hour and a half or less probably to get out to the subject property from Albuquerque. Whatever the case, for those not familiar with Cibola County, I will tell you this is, as I have remarked in numerous videos in the past, it's one of these areas where there's, quote, more cows than people is the joke that I like to make. But the point is it's a rural county. A lot more wildlife out there than there are human beings living in the region. It's not to say that it's completely deserted. There's people out there, but, it's not Albuquerque, let's say. That being said, for as what it lacks in people, it makes up for sort of in nature, in some just great things to see out there. The area is known for, if you kind of zoom in on the map here, you'll see the El Mapais National Monument's out here. The El Morro Monument is out here. The Bandera Ice Caves, the volcano thing is out here, etc. Additionally, you have a number of bodies of water in this area, the Rama Lake, Rama Reservoir, Blue Water Lake State Park, etc. So, and in between all of that, it should be noted is this giant green splotch of land right here, which is the Cibola National Forest, roughly about 300,000 acres of some fantastic, hunting area. Okay, hunting, camping, hiking, trails, things like that. So there's a lot to do out here if you are in fact a nature lover. Whatever the case, this specific property sits in this part of Cibola County, down here by Fence Lake, right off of Highway 36. And if we zoom in here and then go back to satellite view, because we're not seeing much else the other way, you can see that the property is, hello, there we go, right here off 36, just down this main road. Let me actually go back to the listing page here. I want to direct your attention down here to the, as we always do, we've got the Google Earth overlay. There is no plat map representation on Google Maps, so this is a fair sense of what this 20-acre property looks like and what space it covers. You can see that about 3/4 of it has kind of has trees. We'll say it's not dense forestry or dense vegetation, but it's got a lot of trees on it for those of you who like trees. And then you've got this cutout area here along the sort of northern 1/4 of the property, where you've got a lot of wide open space. So easy to build in either one of these, but if you're the kind of person who does or does not want to cut down trees, either way you'll have options. Additionally, just want to point out to you guys, this is the actual plat map of the area. We've got a really good plat map from Cibola County on this one. So you can see that this is in fact 20 acres. It sits right here. It has legal easements along its northern and eastern boundaries. This is actually one of the main roads through this subdivision, which I'll get to in just a second. So it's a big 20-acre corner lot. And the other thing that should be pointed out here is that the subdivision begins right up here, which means the top of that plat map is Highway 36. So one of the nice things about that is that you can see that this property just to its north is about 1,310 feet of road frontage this way. That means you're about 1,320 feet from the main highway there. Now, I'm pointing this out because what we encounter a lot in Cibola County is in these rural areas when it snows, when it rains, etc. If you own a property that's deep, deep, deep within the subdivision, that's going to be difficult to drive to or drive from in those conditions. This thing, however, is sitting so close to the highway, no matter how inclement the weather is, you're going to be able to get back and forth, and that's a nice detail. It's nice that it's that close to sort of a state-maintained highway. Anyway, with that said, let me just go back here to the map for a second. So, as you can see in this region, there's not specifically a lot within close distance of the property. There's Fence Lake over here. If we zoom in on this, you can see the Fence Lake is a small, small town. I mean, it's not like there's a Walmart here or anything. Volunteer fire department, post office, a couple homes, etc. The nearest sort of big town that we can point to with this on the map is Quemado, just down here to the south in this region. And actually, if we right-click and measure distance, as the crow flies, 20 minutes, 20 miles, something like that. But if you do one of these this is my new thing I like to do here on Google. If you do one of these, you can see that roughly, it's more like maybe a 30-minute drive. But of course, again, you're going down the 36. It's all highway, so it's an easy kind of country drive. Right-click and clear measurement. The other thing I want to point out to you guys is that nearby here in Quemado, and I actually have this pulled up on a second map, is the Quemado Lake. And I'm going to show you pictures of that in a second, but you can see it is just roughly, there we go, it is just roughly about, this is where the subject property is, here's where Quemado Lake is. So maybe it's about an hour drive south, but it's a really picturesque area, as you'll see from the photos that we have here in the gallery of the nearby Quemado Lake. So a good place for some fishing, some boating, some general relaxation, etc. With this, of course, we also have photos from the property, which I will get to in a second. I do want to point out that we have photos of Quemado. If you guys are not familiar with it, you want to get a sense of exactly how big or small this town is. They've got some amenities out here: convenience store, gas station, post office again, place like this, country store, so on and so forth. Nearest Walmart, nearest Home Depot, things like that are going to be in nearby grants. So if this is a property that you end up looking at seriously and you say, oh my God, this is great, I want to go out there and I want to build, how far am I going to have to drive to buy, a hammer and nails? That's going to be up here in nearby grants. Let's go to map view so we can actually see how far that is. Grants is up here, subject properties down here, so it's a quick, the 36 over the 117, and then the 117 up to the 40. And again, look at this, guys, we're going to do it again. Right-click, measure distance, ba-boom, roughly about 50 minutes up to Grants, so not too bad. But point is that is the next sort of major town, major area that you'll find, where, of course, there's an actual concentration of population, as you can see here from the map. Pretty much any fast food restaurant you want to go to is there. They've got a super Walmart. I believe they have a Home Depot. It's either Grants or Gallup, but either way, they have something like that out there. Hospital, airport, etc. are all in this region. So Grants Milan Municipal Airport. So not too difficult, not too far, Hey, look, there's our title company that we used to buy this property. I'll get to that in a second. Anyway, point being, these are photos from a nearby small town. These are photos from the nearby lake. And then we have some pictures from this property. And I really, really, really like this property. So just to get a sense, this is what the roads are like out here. This is that highway. This is Highway 36. This is the turnoff to the subject property. As you can see, they got a little bit of a gate here. This is not something that's apparently ever closed. In the next photo, you can see that this is kind of dug into the ground. So this isn't something that moves back and forth. It doesn't have a lock. It doesn't have a key code combination on it. But you'll notice that Indian Knolls Ranch is a pretty nice little subdivision. They've even got signs up here. It says private. There you go. They've got a little entrance and some signs. Of course, the other thing that jumps out at you with these photos is that you can see that there are power lines immediately going through this region down the main road. The main road here is Indian Knolls Road, and I just want to point out to you guys that if we go back to the, I know I'm doing way too much of this, hang on. If we go back to the subject property here, this is Indian Knolls Road right here. So the property sits right there off of that main road. Back to the photos. You can also get a sense right here of, again, power continuing throughout the subdivision, number one, but number two, these are some pretty well-maintained roads. They're like dirt gravel, well-maintained dirt gravel roads. And then again, power, underground utilities out there, buried cable, telephone lines, cable lines, etc. This is the, as noted, is a corner lot. So this is the sort of north-south road, and this is the east-west road right here. And to just get a better sense of what exactly I'm talking about, north-south road, east-west road. That photo would have been taken from right here. Anyway, as you go through the gallery, again, you'll also start to get a sense of the property. It's a really, really nice property. Again, I like it because, you know, you've got the trees out here. A lot of people, when we have properties that don't have trees on them, call me and tell me how much they want trees and how much I would totally buy this if it had trees. So it's nice to see some nice kind of forestation, kind of, you know, forestry out here. Number one. Number two, there's also a lot of kind of open spaces within this. It's not a dense cluster of trees. It's not the kind of thing where you're going to have to spend, you know, multiple thousands of dollars knocking down trees to just carve out a section of land in which you can maybe build on. There's some nice healthy spots here. Additionally, you know, it should also be noted because, so not to bury the headline, but this is a subdivision where there are no covenants, there are no restrictions, there's no HOA, and there are no annual dues. And because Cibola County has no formal zoning ordinance and defers to its county's subdivisions, what that means is basically you could do here whatever exactly you like. So when you see wide open spots like this, for those of you who own an RV, for those of you who are looking for good spots to camp, you know how difficult it is to find land around New Mexico where you can do those things because, you know, oh, you can camp, but you can only camp for 7 days, and then you have to move, or, you know, whatever the exact restriction is. Out here, you're not going to be faced with that. So, you know, whether this is a property you decide to build on, or ultimately it's just a sort of seasonal thing where you go and you camp and you know, RV for like 3 months out of the year. You know, either way, you've got plenty of spots on the property where you can either build or where you can camp and RV, things like that. Additionally, you know, those are the wide open spaces just within the trees, just within sort of within these areas up here. As you can see, there's plenty of space to do whatever exactly you want. But there's also this area down here along the northern part of the property, which is just wide open. So, you know, depending on what your budget is, what your inclination is for chopping down trees, maybe you're a very environmentally friendly person, maybe you want to go out there and plant more trees. Point is, you're going to have a space where you're not going to have to deal with that if that's something that you don't want to deal with. Now, one thing I want to point out here, guys, so we've come to photos that have a fence in them. Sometimes we manage to get properties where the neighbor has put up a fence and it kind of, you know, essentially dictates what your western, northern, southern, eastern boundaries are on the property, and you don't have to get a survey. That's always a nice thing. This is not a fence that extends throughout the length of the property. It just extends through a small chunk of the western boundary of the property. In fact, I'm not even entirely sure if this is on the subject property, but it's pretty close, so we had photos taken of it. Whatever the case, that's what this looks like, and I'll show it to you again just a little bit from a higher angle and give you a sense of exactly where that sits. But point is, I don't want you to think that the property's fenced, and I don't want you to think that, you know, maybe it'll dictate some of your boundaries. It really doesn't. Anyway, more fantastic photos of the property. I will let you guys explore these on your own. I will tell you that we're going to have a drone video down here at the bottom of the page where you're going to get an even better sense of the property, the terrain, the surroundings, so on and so forth. But finally, I do just want to direct your attention to the drone shots that we have up here. We've taken to doing this recently where we're kind of outlining the property to give you a sense of, well, this is basically what the, you know, size, shape, location of this lot is in a kind of three-dimensional sense. Here's what you're dealing with. So you can see what I was talking about earlier where you've got, you know, this nice cutout space here along the northern part of the property, as well as a lot of trees along the kind of 3/4 of the southern part. The fence, you won't see it here, but in the next shot, hang on. Okay, no, I'm wrong. It was 2 shots back. Hang on, guys. The fence, if you bring this up when you're looking at it on the computer, fence kind of sits right here, and it actually goes, I guess, along sort of the western boundary here, but then it cuts across this way against the neighbor's property. Now, of course, the neighbor's property, if you look at a plat map, goes back here, so I'm not entirely sure why there's a fence halfway along the property. But point is, the fencing that we showed you pictures of is right here. It should also be noted, of course, that when we're looking at this, you can again see the power lines going down this Indian Knolls road, as well as power actually on the property line right here. So that always makes it a hell of a lot easier and more affordable to build on these things. Anyway, as we go through this again, you'll see the outlines of the property, and this is one of the really, really pretty drone shots that he took. We have, again, the outline of approximately what the property is, and from this angle you can see exactly what these cutouts look like, and exactly what I was talking about earlier, that yes, there's trees, but there's not so many as to be, you know, kind of make it difficult to build. Out here this way, this is where Highway 36 would be, just to kind of acclimate yourself with what you're looking at here in the photos and on the map. With all that said, guys, I want to direct your attention to a couple things. So, as noted, Typically, we'll have up here some information about zoning, some information about covenants. Again, this is a subdivision, this Indian Knolls Ranch, where they don't have those things. There are no covenants, no restrictions, no zoning ordinances, no HOA, and no dues. So that's really nice. It means you can do whatever you like. Aside from the things that I mentioned, it also suggests that, you know, if your goal is to do something like build a shipping container home or a tiny home, you're going to be able to do it out here a lot easier than you would be in other places. Or, by the way, because this sits so close to the Cibola National Forest, if you're just using this area as some sort of staging ground for a hunting cabin or something where you and the guys go, you know, in the winter months, and, you know, this is the place where you stay for a couple weeks while we go out and hunt, and we come back here every night, you know, excellent property for that. Beautiful land in a great location. So anyway, the thing I want to direct your attention to is we've got a couple links here to some of the points of interest within the region. I've reiterated all these up here in the property-specific notes that we have on the land, property-specific notes. They're all reiterated up here, but the one that I think is closest and the one that we haven't sort of explored or talked about in previous Cibola County videos is Quemado Lake. If you click on this, it'll take you kind of to their website where you can read and learn more about the Quemado Lake Recreation Area. Because it looks like a really nice area and a cool place to explore. When my photographer was out there, he said pretty much everybody told him you got to go see the lake, which is why we have pictures of the lake, which is, you know, like an hour south of the property. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, in addition, we always like to give you guys the ability to kind of research these things. If you want to dig into it more, if it's a property that you're serious about and you've got logistical questions or cost questions, things that we can't necessarily answer, we always like to provide some links up here to, for instance, the local utility company. Continental Divide Electric Co-op is the company that services this region. Click on this, it's going to take you to their website, which, hang on, this is the El Mapais website, the El Morro, the Blue Water Lake website. All of these are linked on this listing page, ice caves. But finally, here we go. This is the Continental Divide Electric Co-op website. You know, if you call them and say, hey, I'm looking to buy some land in Indian Ranch, they might know the subdivision, they might not. A lot of times when you call a county or a power company, a utility of any sort, they'll usually ask either for a legal description or a parcel number. That information is all contained up here. So point being, if you're going to call and talk to them about, hey, I'm looking to buy some land, you guys have already got power running along that, you know, that road, running along the property, it's powering homes within that area. Practically speaking, what's it going to cost me to get hooked up to the grid? You know, they can speak to you better about that than we can. Additionally, we also have a link here for the New Mexico Office of the State Engineer. This is the governmental body in the state that permits wells, both residential as well as commercial. So if you're going to get a well drilled out here, if you're going to get water rights for the property, this is ultimately the organization that you're going to want to talk to. Of course, there are some nearby tribes in the area, I believe Navajo tribes, which actually sell water. If you're going to have a holding tank on the property, there's some who do that. But of course, if you want to get your own well, always good to kind of reach out to local vendors, people who do that professionally, and talk to them about, you know, what's the water table like in that region? How far down am I going to have to drill? What do you charge me on a price per foot basis of drilling? So on and so forth, and they give you a better sense of it. But ultimately, when you're talking about getting permitted for such a thing, this is the website you're going to want to go to. This is the office, the governmental body you're going to want to speak to. They have some permits on here, some applications. We've reiterated them down here, well drilling info links, well drilling permit applications, etc. But always good to explore that. By the way, I just want to point out, I mentioned there are other people living out here, that it's a kind of residential subdivision. You can't see it too much from the map. But if you zoom in this area, you'll see, you know, home out here, pretty nice looking home. Another pretty nice looking home as well over here. A couple more over here, one, and then here's another one, so on and so forth. So I mean, not, you know, not a dense amount of homes by any sense, but certainly there's people living out here. There's some nice homes. It's not one of these subdivisions where there's a lot of junk cars and you know, people probably cooking meth. This is a really, really nice area. So point being, I really like it. I don't know if you can sense my enthusiasm, but I really like it. Anyway, guys, if this is a property you're interested in purchasing, let me just direct your attention up here. We've got a Buy Now button. Price of the property is $27,000. You click this, it's going to take you to a secure checkout page. Looks like this. We're looking for $500 down. It's a non-refundable earnest money deposit. To be clear, this is a cash transaction, guys. We're looking for somebody who has the whole $27,000. We're not offering financing on this. But we like to start these transactions with at least $500 down, and then we contact you about how exactly you want to close on the property. So you fill out a couple pieces of information here, legal name for deed, tax address, so on and so forth. Agree to the terms of service, and on the next page you can enter credit or debit card information. For the record, when you get into properties that are in this price range, we pretty much we highly recommend that you close through a title company. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we closed on this through Quest Title. That is the only title company in Cibola County. They sort of service all the home and land transactions, conveyances that take place there. So we closed with them. We got title insurance with them. We will be providing you with a warranty deed. But we also encourage you to close with them. It's a good way of insuring your money. You're going to hand over $27,000 to somebody, so it's good to have a third-party intermediary, a neutral party, who handles that as well as the drawing up of the conveyance documents. We can do it. It's not a problem for us, but generally I like my buyers to be aware of that option. So for the record, guys, we have a page here on our website called How It Works, Buying From Us. This is very informative about the two separate ways in which you can buy a property from us. Essentially, one way is called a notary close, and the other is what I'm recommending here, which is a title and escrow close. If you come down here, it'll kind of describe how that process works. Basically, it goes a little something like this. You put down the deposit, the $500 non-refundable. We draw up a sale purchase agreement. You sign it, we sign it, and we submit it to the title company, and they do the rest. And usually it takes them a couple weeks, but a couple weeks later they contact you. They tell you where to wire the money to. They contact us. They send us a bunch of documents, sign the new deed, so on and so forth, and then they kind of supervise that transaction of cash and property. If you'd like to see a copy, by the way, of one of our sort of generic standard sale purchase agreements, what that looks like, what you're going to eventually be asked to sign, just click that link and it'll bring up this document. We have very simple contracts here at Hemingway Land. This is one page for signatures. If you want your attorney to look at it, that's fine, doesn't bother us, but it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward document. And if you have questions about this, guys, give us a call in advance and put down the $500, etc. But that's usually how we like to handle these transactions. Anyway, with all that said, again, my enthusiasm for this property is considerable. It's rare that we get things that are like really this nice, big, large properties. And additionally, forgot to mention, we have it written down here in the property specific notes, and this is a big detail. I can't believe I forgot this. Cibola County Assessor places the market value of these 20 acres at $35,000. We're offering this for $27,000. So we're $8,000 under what the county says is market value, which means if you start looking at realtor comps in this region, you're going to see things at 35 and above, 35, 40, 45 for like-type properties, 20 acres. So this is a really good price, guys, and I would not be surprised if this does not sit on the website for very long. Anyway, with all that said, thanks for watching, guys. Please take the time, explore this property. It's a really nice one. If you have a chance to go out there and scout it, I think you're going to be pleased as well. If you guys have any questions, shoot us an email, support@hemingwayland.com. Give us a call, 702-919-7170. Or, as always, leave a comment down below the video here on the YouTube. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one.